Hi, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we'll be looking at another one of my treasure tomes, Kaiju Girl, Caramelise. I don't even know how to start describing this. Last week, in discussing the Massiverse, I talked about my love for all things tokusatsu, and once again, this is going to be the jumping on point for me for this title. However, this is nothing like anything in the Massiverse. Indeed, this is nothing like probably anything you've ever read before, although there are some parallels we can make with some other titles. Kaiju Girl is a manga by Spica Aoki about a girl who turns into a giant monster whenever she has feelings of anxiety or feelings of love. I honestly don't know what I was expecting when I picked up the first volume of this manga. It's so hard to articulate why I love this so much. The writer of this series is a shoujo author. So she is most comfortable writing stories for young girls. Some other common shoujo titles that you might be familiar with include Sailor Moon or Mars or Fruits Basket. So if you are familiar with that kind of manga, that kind of writing, you have these very beautiful illustrations of the women. There's a lot of close-ups on faces. There's a lot of these like bubble effects and like sparkle effects around different characters. And that's not what you would normally expect to see in something starring a kaiju, but this book absolutely does that. There are points in the story where the giant monster kaiju is talking about how cute she feels, and parts where she's talking about how disgusted she feels, and it's all rendered in a style that's very reminiscent of these other shoujo titles. And so I think part of the appeal for me initially was just the juxtaposition, contrast between the giant kaiju rampaging through the city framework of the story and the art style that is much more reminiscent of these romance stories. Of course, the main thrust of the story is a relationship between Kuroi and a fellow classmate who is also, I believe, a male model. So it is relying on some of these very common shoujo tropes, and it was serialized in Japan under a shoujo imprint. What impresses me most about this title is just how genuine it feels, how it's obviously something that this author wanted to write about. It was something that they are passionate about. There's a lot of levity with this title. How couldn't there be? Like, in what universe would a giant monster who is falling in love not be on some level funny? The main character befriends a classmate who is in love with the kaiju. She's friends with the girl, but she's in love with the kaiju, and in like a really weird way where she wants the kaiju to like step on her or like consume her. And she's this giant kaiju movie nerd. She dresses up like Mothra. She believes that Kuroi is like the priestess for this kaiju. There's a lot of references to movies like Mothra and Godzilla and Rodan and Again, it all comes from such a genuine place that it is just a joy to read if you are someone who is familiar with those titles. Reference alone wouldn't be enough to push this to one of my favorite titles. I've read another kaiju series. I picked up Ultra Kaiju Humanization Project around the same time that I picked up the first volume of Kaiju Girl. And this similarly has a lot of references to Ultraman, a lot of references to kaiju movies, but it is just a cute girls doing cute things comic, and there's very little substance here. This barely cracks a 3 on my radar, even with those references, which are probably the most fun I have with this particular title. But Kaiju Girl actually has some heart to it and has some substance to it. It's very much a story about self-acceptance, about self-love. The opening parts, the opening movements of the manga are her trying to grapple with the idea that someone might actually like her even though she doesn't like herself. It struck me as something very similar to Pixar's Turning Red, in which you had the character turning into the giant red panda. There's also a lot of messaging here about accepting your emotions and about emotional maturity, that feelings are valid, even the negative ones. And again, alongside the messaging of self-acceptance, I feel like this is a really important idea to be conveyed to young girls and young boys. The expanding cast of characters have mostly been welcome additions to the story, with the possible exception of one character whose entire concept is that without makeup, she's very unattractive. And so she's devoted herself to learning makeup tricks and helping people see the inner beauty that they have with cosmetics. The intentioning of the messaging there is good, but I don't know if it always lands and if the humor really works. It feels like a detriment to some of the other messaging we have in this story. We also deal with concepts of family bonds and found family, the links that a mother will go to keep their child safe. I appreciate how genuine this series is, from the shoujo art stylings, the clear love for the genre and for the history of kaiju and kaiju films. On top of that, the strong messaging we have about self-love and family and friendship and building community. And so I have picked up every volume of Kaiju Girl that's been released stateside. Volume 7 should be out later this year, and I am waiting with bated breath to pick up another volume. This is just an absolutely amazing series that I think a lot of people are sleeping on because they don't realize what it's about. And it's not something that's getting a lot of attention. It's not a mainstream shonen title like Chainsaw Man or Attack on Titan, which I feel like get a lot of the buzz in the anime and manga community. So if you are looking for a title that manages to skate the line between two completely different genres, two completely different aesthetics, and come out the other side with something that is absolutely amazing, full of positive themes and a love story in which the characters actually develop alongside one another, then I would say that you should pick up Kaiju Girl Caramelise and at least give it a shot. It's hard to tell how much my bias for this type of media is painting my opinion on this, but I just love this so very much and I want everyone to know about it. I hope you enjoyed this look at one of my more obscure favorites in recent years. Comment down below and let me know, what is your guilty pleasure? What is your weird book? What's the masterpiece that nobody else is talking about? And I really would encourage you, if you are a fan of Turning Red, if you want to see a similar story done in the manga style, to go pick up Kaiju Girl Caramelise and give it a read.
It is just excellent all around. I love every aspect of this book, and I really just wish more people were reading it. I'll be back with another video again soon. I hope your reading journey is going well, and I'll see you on the next one.